Let me ask you something. When you have a health concern, something that's really bugging you, who do you turn to? I mean, besides a doctor, who's in that inner circle of yours? It's a question we've all got an answer to, but it turns out that answer is way more surprising and a whole lot more important than you probably think. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a fascinating new study that reveals this hidden social world of how we really get our health advice.
No, really, just think about it for a second. Get a face in your mind. Is it your spouse, your mom, your best friend from college? See, we all have this built-in assumption that our most important conversations, especially about something as personal as our health, happen with the people we're closest to. And it makes perfect sense, right? I mean, these are our people.
And this isn't just a casual assumption. It's been the foundation for a ton of research for years. The idea that our close friends list is basically the same as our health advice list. But what if that's just not true? What if there's this entirely separate parallel network for advice that's been operating just under the surface this whole time?
Well, get ready for this number because it really makes you stop and think. A brand new study looked into this and found that the overlap between who we consider a close friend and who we'd actually ask for health advice is only 34%. Let that sink in for a second. That means for every 3 people you might go to for health advice, 2 of them are not in your immediate circle of closest friends.
And that, right there, is the big mystery we're unpacking. If it's not our best friends, then who on earth are these other people? And, more importantly, what does this hidden social world mean for public health, for our communities, and maybe even for how you run your own organization? Because the answer could totally change how we think about the way good information and support actually spreads.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with this advice paradox and look at the actual shape of these networks. Then we'll get into who we tend to choose as advisors, uncover a really surprising health conundrum, and then wrap it all up with why this is so critical for all of us.
Okay, first things first. To really get that 34% number, you have to understand that we're talking about 2 completely different types of social networks. They might look similar on the surface, but they work in fundamentally different ways.
So on one side, you've got your close relationship network, or CRN. This is your ride or die crew, your inner circle, the people you feel that deep emotional connection with. But on the other side, you've got this health advice network, or HAN. And here's the really cool part. A HAN isn't just about who you've already asked for advice. It's about who you perceive as a good advisor. It's like this dormant social capital just sitting there waiting to be activated. And that simple shift in perception opens the door to a much, much bigger group of people.
Now, to really see just how different these 2 networks are, we need a quick little concept from network science called transitivity. Don't worry, it's super simple. It's just the fancy term for the old saying, a friend of my friend is my friend. When you have high transitivity, your social world is made up of these tight, dense little clusters where pretty much everybody knows everybody else.
And this idea just perfectly illustrates the huge difference here. Our close friend groups, they have super high transitivity. They kind of function like an echo chamber. Now, that's amazing for emotional support, but it's not so great for getting new, fresh information. The health advice networks, though, the study found they have low transitivity. They're built less like a cozy neighborhood cul-de-sac and more like a series of bridges connecting totally different islands of people. And that structure is incredibly powerful for spreading new and diverse advice across a whole community.
Hey, don't just take my word for it. The researchers themselves put it perfectly. This unique structure, these information bridges, built on what might seem like weaker ties, is exactly what makes these advice networks so powerful. It's not about ditching our close friends. It's about having this whole other layer of support that gives us access to a way bigger pool of knowledge.
So, if these health advisors aren't always our closest friends, what is it that makes us look at someone and think, yeah, they'd give good advice? Well, a huge part of the answer lies in this really powerful social force called homophily.
You already know this concept, even if you don't know the word. Homophilia is just the birds of a feather flock together principle. We are just naturally drawn to people who are like us. Same age, same gender, same background. That similarity builds a kind of instant trust and comfort. So the study asked, does this birds of a feather thing apply when we're looking for health advice?
Oh yeah, it absolutely does. The effect is huge. Just being in the same general age group makes you 7% more likely to see someone as an advisor. But look at the effect of gender. It's a massive 31% increase. This tells us that when it comes to our health, we put a huge premium on shared experience, and especially shared gender experience. And when they dug a little deeper into that gender effect,
they found something else that's really fascinating. It wasn't just about women asking other women for advice. Across the board, women in this study were 40% more likely to be named as a potential health advisor by everybody, men included. This really lines up with a ton of other research that shows women often act as the central hubs for support and information in our communities.
Okay, so we've seen that these advice networks are broad, and we tend to prefer advisors who are like us. But now we get to what might be the most counterintuitive and maybe the most important finding in this entire study. It's a real puzzle about what happens when we actually get sick.
I mean, it seems like a total no-brainer. If you're not feeling well, if you have a chronic condition, you need more information, more support, more advice. You would just assume that these folks would be the most active people in the entire health advice network. That's what the researchers thought too. But the data told a completely different story.
Instead of seeking out more help, people who reported having poor physical health actually nominated 7% fewer potential health advisors. Think about that. They weren't leaning into their network, they were pulling back from it. Right at the moment when they might need that network the most, their world of potential helpers actually got smaller. This is a huge deal for anyone in healthcare or community leadership.
But here's the critical twist. This is so important. While those in poor health pulled back from seeing potential advisors, the community did not pull back from them. In fact, these same people were actually nominated as close friends slightly more often. This suggests the isolation isn't coming from the outside. The barrier seems to be internal. It points to a potential stigma around asking for help, not a stigma around being their friend.
So, you have to be wondering, how did this study manage to find this rich, hidden network in the first place? What was the secret sauce? Well, the answer lies in where they looked, and it points to this incredibly powerful and maybe overlooked engine of community health. So this research wasn't done in some sterile lab. It took place inside German carnival clubs. Now, these aren't just places for a party once a year. They're these year-round community groups, voluntary associations, where people from all different walks of life come together over a shared cultural interest. You could say they're a perfect breeding ground for what scientists call social capital.
And here's the beautiful thing about how it works. Nobody joins a carnival club thinking, I'm going to find my next health advisor here. They join for fun, for tradition, for community. But in the process of doing that, they accidentally build this rich social environment that is everything from best friends to casual acquaintances. And that's where these unanticipated gains come from. The club becomes this amazing platform for exchanging valuable things like health advice that was never part of the official plan.
Which brings us to the big finish, the so what question. This is all really interesting, but what do we actually do with this knowledge? What are the big takeaways for those of us who are researchers or who lead teams in communities?
Well, the implications here are incredibly direct. For you public health leaders, the message is loud and clear. Find ways to support and foster these voluntary associations. They are these amazing self-organizing engines of health support. For the CEOs and managers watching, this research is a powerful reminder to nurture community that goes beyond just work tasks. Things like employee resource groups, clubs, volunteer days, they aren't just fluffy nice-to-haves. They are critical infrastructure for employee well-being and for the flow of important information. And for my fellow researchers, it's a call to action to look beyond just our obsession with close, strong ties. These function-specific networks, like Forgetting Advice, they tell a much richer and, frankly, more accurate story.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to chew on. Think about your own world, your company, your neighborhood, your city. Where are these hidden advice networks already bubbling up? I promise you, they're there, operating just under the radar. The real challenge and the huge opportunity is for us to learn how to see them, to value them, and to create the conditions where they can do more than just survive, where they can actually thrive.